Hey, Monday morning. Wow. How was Father's Day for all of you? Why am I wowing on Monday morning? Do you have Manic Mondays? Remember that song? Manic Mondays. Do you have Monday-itis because the weekend is over, especially in the summertime? Especially when you went to the beach or went to the lake or walked around a park and enjoyed the weather. Just getting back to work on a Monday morning is always a challenge for so many people. But the reality check today has nothing to do with Monday morning-itis. Has nothing to do with, Father's Day yesterday. It has to do with a road that I call Vulnerability Road. Are you willing to go down Vulnerability Road? It's a road that's kind of rocky. It's a road where boulders might actually come out and you might have to actually swerve at the last second to avoid a massive crash. It's a road where sometimes the weather's a little icy and a little slick. It's a road where, you're going to have to negotiate your way through roadblocks. Because sometimes you might be cruising really good down Vulnerability Road, then all of a sudden there's a roadblock that comes up, and then you got to have the real heart-to-heart conversation. I'm talking about falling in love. I'm talking about connecting with another person. I'm talking about having a relationship. I'm talking about being vulnerable, raw, and open in every aspect of your life. People who are willing to go down Vulnerability Road realize that it's not easy all the time. As a matter of fact, there are so many ups and downs on Vulnerability Road that sometimes the universe or God, whatever you might believe in, is really just testing you at that moment. I believe every relationship has a critical moment where you're staring directly into somebody's eyes, or maybe on their screen, because nowadays we seem to text things nonstop. But there's a moment in a relationship where you're being tested, where something just seems to come up. You might say something to somebody, and all of a sudden they react an entirely different way than you imagine them to act. It could have been something really simple you said. Could have been something that you offered to do. Could have been something that you were willing to show up for. Could have been something in the way you felt. And all of a sudden that day, they just didn't take it the way that you wanted them to take it, and they went down a road. They got triggered. They got triggered from the past, and believe me, when the ghosts of the past of relationships that come up, and the ghosts of the past that come up in business dealings, and somebody gets triggered, then all of a sudden, Vulnerability Road turns into a little bit of a bumpy highway. There's a major flash flood warning ahead. What are you going to do? Are you going to plow through, or are you going to go off the side of the road and go find a new road? And that's what a lot of people do nowadays. A lot of people, at the first sign of it really becoming real, where you actually have your first misunderstanding, and I'm not talking about argument, I'm not talking about anything like that, but when you misinterpret one another, it's how you handle that moment is how the rest of the relationship is actually going to pan out. I want you to think about this. Most people, when they have a relationship and they've gone down Vulnerability Road and they're feeling so good, they're literally in la-la land. They're walking around going, la, 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 la. Everything feels so damn good. The oxytocin feels great. The serotonin, the dopamine. Everything feels so wonderful in the relationship. You just feel so alive. The other person is walking on water. You're walking on water. Nothing can be wrong. The two of you are falling in love. And then all of a sudden, you say something that triggers them. And they get triggered. And the next thing you know, you're going through this feeling, these emotions, and you're thinking to yourself, holy shit, what happened? We were just in la-la land, and now all of a sudden, things are a little chaotic. What most people do in that situation, instead of really looking at it and going forward, they'll sugarcoat it. You'll both come to your senses a little bit. You'll both talk about how you were triggered a little bit. You'll both kind of apologize. And then you'll just want to get past that because you want to go back to the dopamine high. Literally, when you meet somebody and you're falling in love and you're going down vulnerability road, it's no different than snorting cocaine or smoking a joint or having a great drink or getting a rush that your fantasy football team won the playoffs. Well, you get the drift. It's a drug rush inside your brain. It literally releases the same chemicals inside your brain because love is a drug. And the thing is, you're going down vulnerability road to get into some type of radical honesty moment, not to gloss it over. Because he who glosses over the moments that show up, the moments where the two of you are now down a road where all of a sudden it becomes real and all of a sudden you really need to talk about something, most people in those instances at those moments tend to gloss it over because they want to go back to the dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin high that they were under. They want to go back to the magic spell. Give me the magic spell. I don't want to talk about this serious stuff. I can't believe they even reacted this way. And now all of a sudden I'm reacting and all of a sudden we got to talk about it. Why don't we just apologize to one another and just, well, hit the delete button. Hit the Ctrl+Alt+Delete button and literally just, well, ignore it. Well, let me tell you something, young man, young woman, older woman. He who hits Ctrl+Alt+Delete when the first moment of vulnerability and the first moment of fear shows up, or the first moment of indecision shows up, or the first moment that you actually have a disagreement, he who hits Ctrl+Alt+Delete might as well really hit Ctrl+Alt+Delete on the relationship. Because once you gloss over the first thing, what happens next is that you'll go back to La La Land. You won't cover the moment that showed up, the moment where the relationship can actually go deeper, become more real and more powerful, because you want to get back to the dopamine high. You want to go back to that oxytocin release. You make up to one another. You have sex again. Everything feels great. And then boom, all of a sudden, it happens again. And then you just want to cover it up one more time. You don't want to admit the fact that you covered it up the first time, so you cover it up again and again and again. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, your relationship becomes a cover-up and not a real relationship. You see, by covering it up over and over again, what happens is that you're just not really looking at the root. You're not willing to strip down the layers of the onion and go deep with that person and figure out exactly why they were triggered, how they were triggered, and how the two of you can become more self-aware in your new relationship so you can actually have the love relationship that you actually deserve and desire. But no, we're just going to skip over it. And then 6 months later, when you finally split up that person, you're going to go back and look and realize that you had a chance to participate down vulnerability road. But you covered it up. You covered it up like a pimple in the 9th grade. You covered it up like everything else you've ever covered up. You see, I choose to do different. See, when I'm involved in a relationship, I prefer to confront because I remember the times that I did not confront. And I remember what happened, and the outcome was never great because that love, those feelings of love, well, you know what? They just kind of sort of went away. You see, if you truly desire true love really comes when two people are willing to work through the rocky moments down vulnerability road. They're willing to go there. Because if you're willing to go there, you'll actually get there. Because you're actually telling each other, no. This little confrontation mishap today is not just going to be, well, glossed over. Like one coat of paint in a bad rental apartment. This is not going to be glossed over at all because we are actually going to talk about this. And we are going to talk about this and we're going to talk about it until we figure out exactly why both of us were triggered. And both of us take responsibility for what happened that day. If you want true love and desire true love, then I strongly suggest vulnerability road is the only way to go. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. Pass this on. 10-minute daily reality check every single day. It's radical self-help that doesn't suck. And do me a favor. Be a little vulnerable and pass this on to other people. Like me on iTunes. Get this podcast rated so more people can really understand what a reality check is all about. David Wygant out.